Hey guys, it's Eric Green. Listen, how do I make sure that all these potential clients sign my letter and pay me before we start doing work? I use Anchor. Anchor created a fully autonomous billing system and closes the cycle with zero errors. It sends our agreement to the potential client. We'll follow up with them automatically to make sure that agreement is signed. It alerts us when it gets read, when it's signed, and when payment is made. And this way, you know where you are every step of the way. I was so impressed with Anchor, which, by the way, is free. We went to Anchor and have partnered with them. Now, if you go and you register with Anchor, which is free, by the way, if I didn't mention that, you will get access to all of our checklists and letters, okay? But you have to go through our link, all right? Again, by the way, Anchor's free. There is a $5 fee per transaction if you're wondering how they make money. But given that our minimum retainer is $750, it's less than 1%. It's nothing, okay? So again, it's free. They charge the $5, transaction fee on payments, and it will automate your onboarding clients, make follow-up, just puts it on autopilot. It just saves you all that stress and you will close more deals. All right. So sign up here. It's www.sayanchor.com/tax rep. Again, sayanchor.com, sayanchor.com/tax rep, TAXREP. When you go through there, you'll sign up for free and you will have access to all of our letters and checklists, which will save you the trouble of recreating them yourself. All right. Go check out Anchor and put that closing process on autopilot. Guys, I've told my horror story before with S Corp clients and how do you know what reasonable comp is? My horror story is when they went after that CPA who was a friend of mine for $125,000, arguing that he knew and that he knew better and that he should have made sure his clients took reasonable comp. I'm a huge fan of RC Reports. RC Reports, it's about $1,400 a year. We're charging the S Corps that come to us under audit $750 a piece. We'll probably make between $10,000 and $20,000 with RC Reports. But if you have S Corp or C Corp clients, they have to each year get a report, and the report is as simple as possible. RC Reports has a huge database of businesses. It will give you a report that you can rely on. And so far, to date, when we produce that report, not a single auditor has challenged it. The critical thing right now is for your clients to get that report to support the number they're taking on the return, that you're taking on that return that you're signing. Best way to do it, RC Reports. Go check it out, okay? You can find them. It's trn.rcreports.com. Again, trn.rcreports.com. Go there, you'll save $100. It will change your practice. We create an annuity stream for you and bulletproof your clients' corporate returns. The Tax Rep Podcast is now proudly partnered with Nice Job, the experts in reputation marketing. Reviews are so important for attracting new clients. Before Nice Job, I would ask people to leave reviews, but they would usually forget, and I didn't have a way to stay on top and remember to follow up with them. That's where Nice Job comes in. Their smart follow-up campaign recognizes who hasn't left a review yet and automatically sends carefully timed reminders that can increase your chances of getting a review by 300%. I tried Nice Job for Tax Rep, and it's been a game changer. We added 33 five-star reviews in our first month, and our Google business profile is like a magnet for new customers. You can try Nice Job for free for 14 days and get 50% off your first 3 months by visiting nicejob.grsm.io/taxrep. nicejob.grsm.io/taxrep. I'm going to put a link in the description of the podcast. Try it. It will be a game changer for your business as well. How do I manage my tax rep practice? How do I get transcripts? How do I track what is going on with the IRS with every single one of my client cases? How do we complete the offer forms, the powers of attorney, everything? We use Tax Help software. Tax Help software is the cornerstone of our practice. We use it for its intelligent ordering. Every single night, it will update the transcripts on our clients, so we will see things happen long before those letters even go to the mail. We can then, react. We can let the client know. We can get all the transcripts we need to determine what our client's best options are, when is the debt going to expire, and we can fill in all of the IRS forms and get them filed accurately, the analysis done correctly. If you're interested in giving it a test, go to taxhelpsoftware.com, use promo code TaxRepTrial, all one word, all caps. You'll get a free 2-week trial. Again, that's taxhelpsoftware.com, TaxRepTrial, all caps, for a free 2-week trial. If you love it and want to buy it, use TaxRep10, capital, all caps, TaxRep10, TaxRep10, all caps, one word. You'll save 10% on your purchase. It will be the engine that runs your tax rep practice, just like it's what we use for ours. Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this week's Tax Rep Network podcast. I am Eric Green. I am joined by somebody you probably know, Randy Crabtree. Randy's got a terrific podcast, the Unique CPA. Obviously, he has a background. He was a partner at a CPA firm out in Chicago. He now has Tri-Merit, which is a company that basically consults with CPAs, normally in the credits and incentives area. But the podcast is terrific. If you haven't listened to it, you should check that out. And he talks about a very particular topic, and it couldn't be, the timing couldn't be better to cover this, given that we are now at the start of tax season, which is mental health. Mental health, particularly for those people doing tax season. And so, Randy, first of all, thank you for doing this.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And so let's talk about mental health. It's funny because Jeff Sklarz and I here between tax rep and the law firm, and we've often thought, I've gone in there and be like, you know what, I quit. He's like, no. You have to fire me first, then you can quit, right? And and there have been moments. I actually, my book on building $1 million practice is out. I talked about, like, my life just got out of control. I'm working 7 days a week. I finally got a call from a friend of mine, Brent Robertson, who's been on the podcast. He's at Fathom up in West Hartford. They're a consulting firm. Mm-hmm. And because I know there's a Fathom software company, but they're consultants. And he called me, he's like, on a weekend. He's like, hey, what's going on? And we're talking. He said, you're not happy. And I'm like, look, tax rep keeps growing. The podcast keeps growing. The firm keeps growing. We're now 25 people. Everything's great. So why am I so fucking miserable? And he was like, well, let's talk about that. And we began looking at my day. I have an assistant now. I've got some gatekeepers at walls set up so you can't just get unfettered access to me. All in an attempt to bring order to what was the chaos. Because the firm just kept growing. I mean,
yep.
And I never thought of this, but I have friends of mine who are investment bankers. I became a lawyer. They went and actually made money and out of undergrad. And they're like, it is such a thing to be so successful. You go bankrupt, that you literally outstrip your cash flow.
Yeah.
We didn't get that bad, but I was working 7 days a week. And my family is taking the brunt of it.
Oh, yeah.
Because here I can't scream at the staff, so I'm even keel. I can't scream at the clients usually, and so
I'm sure there's some you can.
I'm going home, and my family is not getting the best part of me; they're getting the worst part of me.
Right.
And I talked about this pretty vividly in the book. But let's talk about mental health, and for everyone listening to this who is now about to go off on this 3-month, what is usually a miserable journey, and it doesn't have to be, but we can talk about that next. But from your perspective, what's about to happen.
Yeah, so it is a crazy time of year. I think, and this is a topic for another time, but I think we can change the way taxes are submitted. I think I honestly, the more I think about it, I don't understand why we have, 75 days or whatever it is after the end of the year. I think somebody told me recently that I think it was in Australia, you have 12 months after the end of the year to file taxes. And in reality, the tax, I don't think financially it's going to be any different for the IRS or for the government if you do that year, because most people are probably paid up, but you have to be paid up by the end of the year anyway. So that's a topic for another time. But I think we can stop seasonalizing this part of the profession, which really needs to happen, but it isn't yet. And so therefore, I've got a couple of stories, personal stories that I can share about what the negative parts are. And as you mentioned, there's definitely things we can do to minimize the impact of the tax season, stress, and burnout. And burnout's the huge thing.
Well, you are about my age, so we probably remember. You knew the CPAs who killed themselves for 3 months and then golfed all summer.
Yep.
And then they had a little bit of a rush in September and October. I remember when this is 20 when oh my God, when did I graduate from undergrad? Long time, 29 years ago.
Yep.
There was somebody that I interviewed with who made at the time 350,000 in 3 months and actually had another business that they ran from Florida. They actually left. I was up in Massachusetts, in Boston, went to Florida, and they literally just came back, made a ton of money, and the rest of the year they were off. Ask an accountant today about tax season. It never ends.
Doesn't end.
It just seems to go on and on and on. And so that combined with smart devices, combined with email. 29 years ago, I remember when the first fax machines came out, and there was a partner, KPMG, who said, "What the hell do we want with that?" Right? Who would want a fax machine? Now, in a way, he was right, because I think things were better. Like, as an attorney, you'd send a letter to the government. You had a month, right? Because by the time they got it, opened it, wrote in a response, and sent it back.
Oh yeah,
you had time. This instantaneous back and forth. It's how much worse has it gotten?
Right.
Just because of the bombardment, and then you add on social media and all that nonsense. I mean, I do think there are things that can be done about it, but how much? It feels like it keeps getting worse and worse, and I think there are multiple factors that do that. But what are you seeing?
Yeah, I do for sure. So you do need a fax machine, though, that still communicate with the IRS, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
So that's got to change at some point, doesn't it? All right. So yeah. One of the things I talk about, and I do a presentation on mental health awareness. Personally, I've lived through burnout when I had my firm, and you don't have to. I'm not telling you burnout is not necessary. You don't have to. There's things we can do. But then personally, I even went further, and I had an issue where I went into a depression and panic attacks and PTSD, and this was all health related, but is also business related as well. And so I could talk about going from the stress to the burnout to even to the mental illness, how I came out of that, but things we can do in general. So that whole story, I can tell that, or we can just say, here's things we can do to avoid it. So the first thing I want to address is what you just said, being on 24/7. It's so easy to do, and we don't need to do that. We can shut off. We can shut off at the end of our workday. We don't have to be checking our emails and our texts and our Teams messages at 10 o'clock at night and responding to people at 10 o'clock at night. And when we do that, what happens is we set a bad example, really, for everybody we're working with, because we may think, hey, I got this idea. I want to just respond to this email. I'm going to send out this Teams message now. And you're not thinking that people are going to respond. And they do. Every time you do it, you send a Teams message out at 8 o'clock at night to your people you're working with, they're going to respond. If I do that and I try not to, I'm like, oh crap. Now they think they have to be working at 8 o'clock at night. And my whole goal was just, I don't want to think about this anymore. So I'm going to do it now. But that's not what's being received on their end. On their end, it's Randy's working at 8 o'clock at night. I guess I need to be working at 8 o'clock at night too. And now I'm going to research this and respond to him. So there's simple things we can do, like just schedule that. I think you can schedule a Teams message. You can definitely schedule an email. You can make those go out at a certain time of day, and just that alone can make a big difference in just people's mentality. And if I can, go ahead, Eric.
No, I was going to say, I actually have two cell phones. I have a work cell phone, and when I leave the office, it is shut off and goes in my bag. You can call 24/7. I'm just not answering.
Good.
And what prompted that, I have a lot of clients who are Orthodox Jews. And I noticed they have a flip phone and they have the smartphone. The smartphone, their business, whatever, those go off on Friday afternoon. They're done until Saturday night, and usually they don't check until Sunday. And I thought of that. At first I was like, oh, how that's. First I was like, that's whatever. And it dawned on me, I'm like, that's a really good way to be. To just unplug.
Yeah.
Or for them, the Jewish Sabbath, and I'm not Orthodox, but I was like, I think I might try that. And because I would say that I actually got sick. The 7 day, I was a miserable, when you start having thoughts, which I did, maybe you did, wouldn't it be better off if I just didn't get up in the morning?
Yeah.
If I went to bed and just didn't get up. Not that I was actively going to go and commit suicide, but when you begin having those thoughts, you got to take a break. You got to unplug, and you got to preferably talk to somebody. And part of it was grabbing control so that my weekends became weekends, because otherwise, I used to, and you've heard this. I used to joke, well, on Saturday with Jeff or whomever, I see him at the gym, say, well, listen, thank God it's Saturday, only 2 more working days till Monday. And it's a joke, but it's actually not funny, because that is where we are today. And I bet a lot of people are that way. So, but it is, and post-COVID, with people working remotely, you've got to be really disciplined to leave work and walk into the other room and be home.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's important. I get, to put some statistics around it, I think so. AICPA did a survey, and that survey was pretty much 50% of people in public accounting, feel stressed out on a daily basis. I think that increased in the last couple of years, which kind of makes sense with COVID and everything that went through, and CPAs or tax preparers are actively involved with a lot of things going on from the government with COVID. There's a study by some government program, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head, that shows that people in public accounting have a higher percentage of depression than people in other industries. And it's because of this stress. It's somewhat a perception, but it is reality. The reality can change. But the perception is definitely there, and that's why people aren't going into the industry. For one, I think, is this perception and reality. But two, it's out there. It is. People are working 100 hours a week during tax season. They're putting these extra hours, and there's so many things we can do to minimize that. And one thing I want to talk about just real quick, based on what you were just saying, shutting down, like you said, different phones, whatever. I have a friend that I actually interviewed on our podcast, Brian Cush, where he talks about this whole process of shutting down at the end of each day, turning your mind off from work. Don't be available 24/7. And there's 3 simple steps that he talks about. And I know people are thinking, well, I can't. It's tax season. My mind has to keep going. Honestly, refreshing time, rejuvenation time is extremely important, and you are going to be so much more energetic the next day. And let me give people, since we're talking about this, let me give them 3 steps that Brian talks about to shut down at the end of the day. And this will really help you. You may not think it, it will. One is you go through a 3-step process of closing out the end of the day. One is just at the end of each day, bookmark your work. Where were you? What were you working on? Because if you don't do that, if you train your brain to realize, hey, in the morning, I'm going to know where I am. I don't have to think about this tonight because I get back in my evening self, told my morning self where we are and what's going on and what I need to do that day. So just that simple thing of let's bookmark where we are. Let's not have 100 things running through our head in the evening, like, what am I going to do tomorrow? Because you've already told yourself what you're going to do tomorrow when you get into the office. 2, the second step of this, and I'm simplifying this. We spent an hour talking about this, but I'm simplifying. The next thing he says is, have an instead of plan. Instead of, thinking about work when I get home tonight, I'm going to train my mind that tonight what I'm going to do is I'm going to make dinner. I'm going to read this book. I'm going to do this puzzle. I'm going to go to the movie with my spouse. Just have a plan that you're going to do something different when you leave the office, or close out your computer at home or wherever you're working, just the end of the day. So you have this instead of plan. And then number 3 is actually going through a ritual of shutting down. So you bookmarked your work, you have a set of plan, but the end of that is, okay, it could be as simple as I'm closing my computer. I'm training my brain now. that computer closing is I'm done. I'm shutting my brain down from work today, and I'm going to just concentrate on my instead of plan or whatever it is. He mentions, and I've talked to people about this as well. Maybe you do a little meditation at the end of each day. Maybe you do some devotional at the end of each day. Maybe it's you get on the floor and you do 15 push-ups. Whatever it is, you do something. And this is honestly training your brain to shut off. If you keep doing this, it'll happen, and you will realize after doing this for 2 weeks, let's say, that, oh wow, this really works. I am not concentrating. And one more side note, when my brain trained myself to have panic attacks, to have PTSD after I went through a stroke years ago, and my brain decided that it trained me that I have to be concerned about everything. And if something's going on in my head, I'm going to die, all this stuff. And this is kind of the opposite. Let's train our brain for positive. Let's train our brain to let's shut down. Let's close out what we're doing. When we get back the next day, we are going to be energized, ready to go. That's a simple step.
No. And I was not into Audible or, books on tape or whatever.
Yep.
But it was suggested to me that when I leave the office, put that on, because just listening to the story, and at the time it was Harry Potter. I actually listened to the Harry, which, by the way, if you haven't, they're far better than the movies. Jim Dale does all the voices. It's phenomenal.
Okay.
But what it did is the moment I left the office, now my brain is on Harry Potter, or right now I'm actually reading Power Failure, The Rise and Fall of GE by Scott Cohen. So my brain goes somewhere. My brain goes somewhere else. And for me, it has become a ritual of I have now left work and I'm now doing something else. I'm not, because otherwise I would drive home. I'm on the phone. I've done a bunch of webinars about, and I always tell this story, and I found like a stock photo of a woman with like laser eyes, because I would come into the house and that's the look I got from my wife. Like, you're home, enough with the calls. So now I'm sitting out in my car, running in the driveway in the snow on the phone. So no. You know what? If there's a real important phone call, I'll finish it while I'm here. When I leave, off it goes.
Yep.
But it takes discipline. I mean, folks listening to this, we're making it sound easy.
Yeah.
It's not. And by the
No,
way,
it's not.
we'll struggle with this for a little while, but I think, as Randy said, you have to kind of keep doing it. Now, what I would suggest is the break from practice is important. There are going to be people listening to this saying, Randy, I'll never get it done. That's a bigger issue. And that issue, it still caused the mental health issues, all the rest. Your practice is out of control. And so what I would suggest, my big thing has been on, and I said this once, and I didn't really think it was a big deal, and I've gotten so much feedback. I think it is. I'm clearly pressing something.
Mm-hmm.
I suggested, and even though tax season has started, it's not too late. First of all, pull your receivables. If anyone owes you money, you're not doing their work right out of the gate. Send the bill. They're not getting their work done, period, end of story. But take all of your clients and rank them. Now, listen, what I would do is the client, the fee, if there's a receivable, and I'm going to rank them from A to F. The D's and the F's are fired. Yep. Right out of the gate, send them a letter. I'm unable to handle your account. You have all your original documents. If not, it's up in whatever your Dropbox or Smart Vault or whatever that is. Thank you very much. We wish you the best of luck. Meaning, don't let the door hit you in the ass. You're gone. Take those people right off the table. And you know who they are. Mm-hmm. They suck your soul to live. They're wasting your time. They're slow to pay. They don't appreciate you. The good thing about being self-employed is I get to pick my clients. Just because you call doesn't mean you're my client. Doesn't mean I'm taking you as my client. And if you're going to slow pay, make me miserable or not pay, that's an easy one. Everyone else, price goes up. Mm-hmm. All right. I mean, I don't know about you, Randy, but at least where I live, the rent goes up, the coffee goes up, the creamer goes up.
Yep.
My staff, I don't know why. Like they want raises. Like I don't know where that started. But I mean, I think about it. Everything goes up.
Right.
Fee goes up too. All right. And again, I in the book I said by now you're white knuckling this. There are going to be a bunch of people that be like, oh, Eric, I'll lose clients. Good. That's the point. Get rid of them. Make more, do less, and now you can keep building. But now and what a lot of it stems from is when people open their door, they'll take anybody. Right? I'll just take it.
I did that. Yep.
Oh, I did it too. I have people come back to me that I did a $750 estate plan for. Now it was 20 years ago, and for some reason I think it's still $750. I'm like, yeah, no, it's $6,000. and they're like, well, your prices went up. Well, 20 years, dude. I mean, come on.
No, it's common though. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. And by the way, as a practice note, if you are going to do that, like family and friends, right? You charge them going rate and show a discount. And here's why it's important. I thought it was, well, isn't that kind of dumb? You're just still only charging them the $500. Here's the point. When they go and their friend says, hey, you don't want them saying, oh, go to Eric, he'll just charge $500.
Right.
Show them it's $1,500. They're getting the friends and family discount. Yeah. And that's important. But I think for folks, first of all, the break, as you pointed, and I like the three. I like the 3 steps to actually step out of that. I think I hadn't thought of it in that way. That it's useful, but there may be a bigger problem going on, which is the first one is I'm the problem. I can't stop. I've got to train myself to step out. The other one is I've got to practice. And listen, if you're listening to this, you're like, Eric, I got good clients, and I'm going till midnight. You need more help. If you got good clients and you're making money, then you need to start leveraging and getting more, automating what you can to get more help. But I bet there's a lot of those crummy clients you're dragging along with you, and you dread the emails and the phone calls from those people.
Oh yeah,
gone.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's like you said, right size your firm.
Yep.
Not everybody has all perfect clients. If you do, God bless you, but I just don't, I've never seen it. And honestly, if it's not just you and you have a staff too, and you get rid of those C and D and even F, boy, you're going further. I usually just hear C and D, but we're going all the way to F clients now too.
No, the F clients can't fire fast enough. The D
Yeah,
clients fire those. C clients, what I told people is like,
yeah.
for your people, the returns, I'll tell you the story. I have a friend of mine who has a huge practice here in Connecticut, about 2,000 clients. And this is 5 years ago. And he does nothing but complain. And then every fall he's complaining. I'm like, it's over. Now the bills. I'm like, why did you file 2,000 returns if you weren't paid?
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
no, yeah, time out. And I said, and he said, well, I don't really know until the end. I said, here's the deal. When they drop off, they pay whatever last year's fee was, or if you
Yes.
go up, that's out of the gate. If there's some extra stuff, okay, bill that. But now you got the bulk of your money in.
Get your money up front. I
I
agree
told him,
completely.
I said, go up $100 across the board. And he
Mhm.
said, I can't. I said, half of them will leave. I said, good. I said, and if they stay,
And
they're
they
gonna
won't actually, but yep.
they didn't. So
Yeah.
now he's complaining to me. No, almost nobody left. Like two grandmothers left. And I told him, I'm like, well, you didn't go up enough.
Right.
We go up another $100. I said, you keep going till that 2,000 clients is down to 1,200.
Right. And then the other thing too, when you're right sizing your firm and doing that, raise the fees. That's important. You and automate, you mentioned it that as well. I mean, there's so much automation right now, and so many people are like, well, I don't have time to implement this automation in my practice. You are going to be so much better off in the long run. Sure, maybe you'll take a little time hit now, but for the next 10 years now, you're in great shape and you are so much more efficient. You're so much more profitable. You can spend your time on this higher value. Maybe it's tax
Yep.
representation. Maybe it's you build a niche, something else, but you can now spend your time in advisory rather than in reporting of taxes and
Right.
compliance. Compliance is great. It needs it. But advisory, you have so much more opportunity to bill a higher rate. That those types of things you can do.
I've had Andrew Lassis for
I know
he has
him.
the
Yep.
the Tech for Accountants podcast. And you know Don Brolin.
Oh yeah.
So Scaling New Heights will be in June. I spoke at Scaling New Heights for the first time years and years ago. And the way that, for those of you listening, when I would speak at accounting conferences, or what I consider accounting conferences, like versus the American Bar Tax section where I was a chair, I would go speak, go back to my room and work. That's what I did. And Dawn was like, I'm actually having her on the podcast next. She's like, you got to come. So she drags me to the exhibit hall, and I am blown away by the technology.
Oh yeah.
That just it was mind numbing to me. But here's the thing: whether it's Andrew or somebody else, if you need to automate something and you truly have no time, or like me, it's like a car. I can drive it. I can't tell you how it works. There are people who will come and implement it for you.
Yep.
All right. And there is and being a partner at a firm, Randy, I suspect you'll agree with me. There is a big difference between lawyers, accountants, like these bunch of solos, and like the firms. And here's what I think it is: you have to have a C-suite mentality to move. So, and what I mean by that is there's a solo that says, yeah, but it's faster if I do it myself.
Oh yeah.
You're missing the point. You cannot, you're you. Like, and so if you're going to sit and bang out 1040s, you're going to work till midnight, because you either have to put in more hours or charge more than probably a lot of your clients are willing to pay. The C-suite mentality is, you're right, I'm going to take a hit on these, but I can scale it, right?
Mhm.
I can multiply it. And that's why the technology, I have no problem here dropping money to bring in a consultant to set up our CRM,
Yep.
automate this stuff. Because whatever I mean, we could spend hours and hours trying to figure it out. Bring in the expert, let them do what they do best, set it up, and now we can scale what we're doing. And honestly, that's where you go from being self-employed to owning a business. And a lot of people don't understand this. And I know we're talking mental health, but I think that there's a big piece of it that is in there, which is, and I'll use myself as a story. I quit Deloitte, big firm, and nothing against Deloitte. I love the people I work with. I got to go on my own. I want to be my own boss. I want to have my own company. And I don't have a company. What I created is a job, the worst job you'll ever have, because if I don't show up, no one pays me.
Yeah.
I have to empty the garbage. I have to figure out the copy machine. I have to do everything myself. And it really, I actually read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and there's criticism of the book. It was actually life-changing for me, because in the sense that it made me sit back and be like, I get this. I mean, I wasn't really sure what to do about it initially, but I understand why I don't have a business. I just have a job.
Yep.
You will be able to step back, stress level come down. It's a little bit of a different stress when you have a business, you have other people now you're working with, but like we have 25 people. I would not want to go back to being a solo. I can actually leave and be somewhere for, like, I was with my daughter, went to college. Phone's still being answered, work is still getting done, things are still happening, because we have a business. Right. If it were me, it'd be 3 days of phone calls piling up, emails being unanswered, and I'd come back and kill myself all weekend trying to make up the ground.
Right. Yeah, I've done the same thing. When I started my firm, it was me. I was working crazy hours, all that. And that was one reason I shouldn't say this, but that's one reason I got out of public accounting in general. As a generalist, I'm still in tax as a specialist now, which is unbelievable. It is so much fun, and I can do higher value billing because we're more niche practice, that kind of stuff. But in reality, it was just way too much for me to try to take on as one person. Now with Tri-Merit, where I am now, this firm I started 16 years ago, I'm doing what you just said. I have, after my mental health challenges that were about 9 years ago, went on for 5 years, I basically I changed my entire role in the firm. I was managing partner, probably not the greatest at it, but I just figured it was my role. I reevaluate where my skills are and everything, and determined I'm much better out educating, supporting our CPAs, doing the podcast, doing webinars, doing conferences, speaking at events. But then the other thing I did is, to avoid all the noise around me, is I became really good at delegating. I concentrate on the things I'm good at. I have no desire to increase my skills in things I'm bad at. I have other people that are so good at those things that they can do it and they enjoy it and they're passionate about it. That's huge. Follow your passion. My passion's this, what we're doing today. And I even have people that go through my email. I'll still look at all of them, but if there's something important and I'm speaking at 3 events back to back to back and in 3 different days and get behind an email, now somebody is doing that just to make sure I stay on top. So now, if you're a solo, obviously you don't have that same, but there's virtual assistants you can get too. That can help you. I mean, and if you get a virtual assistant, the price is not that expensive. And now you're freed up to bill your, whatever per hour, $300 per hour that you're going to bill, or, hopefully, your value billing some things, or maybe even subscription pricing. But now you're doing this higher end work, which I think will really help you in the long run.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny because, the 4-Hour Work Week by what's his name, Tim Ferriss. Great book. I mean, most people read it and you laugh about it because they're funny stories. The lesson, though, is just that. You're better off paying whatever it is per hour for the virtual assistant, because now it frees you up to do your higher value work.
Oh, yeah.
And advisory is the thing. I mean, if you're doing returns, and I get this all the time, should I get rid of my return practice? You don't have to get rid of your return practice, but it's got to work for you, not the other way around. And so can you, delegate things? Can can even the return be broken down so someone does input, someone does review? So by the time it hits your desk, you're doing a cursory review. Out the door it goes. One is it'll get done faster, right?
Yep.
Assembly line is there for a reason. I mean, a lot of other industries have discovered this. And you can focus. The other thing that's important to get back to mental health, in training yourself to break, you're actually helping your clients because my clients are paying a lot of money per hour to have a working Eric brain on their thing, not a worn out one that's burned out, sour on life, and just exhausted. And so in a way, the clients don't really understand this, but they're better off with you ending at 5, making, like you said, the notes of where you were, go home, rest up, regenerate, put your phone down, spend time with your family and friends or whatever, and get back at it the next day with a fresh mind. In fact, it's funny. I think it's why when people say, I had this idea in the shower. Why? Probably it's in the morning, you had a good night's sleep, and your mind is fresh. And I've actually come up with some of my most inventive solutions to problems in the shower.
Yeah. I kind of became more of a marketing person. I guess that's what I am because I'm out in front of people all the time. But I all of a sudden, now that I freed myself up from, all these other noise that was around me, I come up with these ideas all the time for us to do new marketing events, which I never was that wasn't my mindset before. And they've been very beneficial for our firm. But partly what I do is it has to be educational for whoever we're talking to too, which I know you're the same way. And so that's important. But one thing you just said about, refreshing your brain and working better in the morning, all this. Another thing that people that I've talked to and somebody that I've talked to quite a bit, her name's Courtney Durandi. She's a managing partner of a CPA firm out of Iowa. She follows, and what's his name? Michael Hyatt. I think it's free to focus or full focus system or something like this. And it's basically just mapping out your time, blocking off time. Courtney talks about how she's been able to identify the times of day, and our bodies go through this, or our minds go through this, times a day where she has more energy to work on, this higher concentration type projects. She blocks off that time, and that's all she's doing for that 3 hours. And everybody knows that you can't get a hold of her. She's in this mode. The email responses go out automatically, whatever it is. But then she also knows that afternoon she has a little less energy, and so she schedules the things that she doesn't have to think about as highly in that time. So she's still productive, but it's not this high concentration time, which she does in the morning. Afternoon, she does this, afternoon's meetings, because she can get through that without having as much energy. And so just simple things like that. Maybe it doesn't sound simple, but once you start to implement it, and her to-do list is not 500 things she talks about too. She comes up with 3 key things she has to finish that week. If she finishes one, she'll add one. But she doesn't have 50 things running through her head nonstop that I have to do this, because she has her 3 key things she's doing, and she identifies those on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, and then that evolves. And if anybody thinks they're work harder, work longer, they're going to get through their to-do list, it's never going to happen. You just have to be more efficient with your time and find out things like this.
Yeah. I mean, I have had this where especially given what I do, civil criminal tax, where we're under pressure. And there are times when I'll admit, I find it better to just sprint. Let me just put my head down and get through this. That is not a daily, and understand that's not a daily, weekly thing. That tends to be the exception, not the rule. For most people, though, it becomes the rule. And that's where you end up in trouble, because you think about it, you can't sprint forever. You're going to just run out of gas.
Yep.
And no, it's, and I think that's why entrepreneurs, and billionaires, and take your pick, tend to get up at like 4 a.m. Because I do. Because I find from 4 to 7, I do my best thinking. It's when I often do my writing. Because again, good night's sleep, fresh brain, coffee.
Yep.
I am probably as lit up as I'm going to be at any point during that day, during that window of time. And whereas now, 2, 3 after in the afternoon, now it's a good time for me to just return phone calls.
See,
Right.
you already got it down. You already know what you're doing.
Yeah. And I fell into that. Well, in trying to take control of my day,
Yep.
I realized that a lot of my frustration is I'm on the phone all day, nothing got done. Right. And there's nothing concrete that's going out the door. So if I can just knock that stuff off, don't talk to anyone, I'm not returning phone calls. Now, after lunch, when I go into the lull, I have my afternoon coffee, but that's a good time to start returning calls and emails. And at the end of that day, my work got done. My work got done by 1 p.m.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I think that's great. Yep.
So, and by the way, it's why one thing I have fallen out of is I don't go to the gym now first thing in the morning because that's my work time. I tend to go toward the end of the day, which has its own, because initially I go work out and then I couldn't sleep because I sort of that is worn off. I'm actually now can sleep better, but it is going to be personal, but I think most people will find first thing, and you don't have to get up at 4 a.m. Maybe you get up at 6, whatever you do, but those opening hours are normally we come in. The light is flashing on the phone, and the first thing we're going to do is start returning calls. You know what? No, it'll wait till 1 o'clock. Get your work done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, simple things like that. Simple things like automation, simple things like just clearing your mind, going for a walk during the day. And I know people are going to say, I can't do it. I got to stay at my desk. That's another brain refresher. Maybe bookmark your work before you do your 15-minute walk, just so you know where you are. You're not thinking about, don't bring your phone with, don't be answering text while you're walking, just clear your mind. That's another refresher. There's a lot of things that we could do to be better rather than just the harder I work, the longer the work, the more I sit at the desk, I'm going to get done. You can be smarter about it, be more efficient. In fact, just as a side note, Courtney, who I just mentioned, her firm, was probably working on average 55, 60, I don't know for sure, 65 hours per week during tax season, which is, not like 100-hour weeks, but it was still there to a point where this tax season, and I think I'm quoting her right, they are maxing out. The most you can work during the week during tax season is 45 hours. And they've been tracking this progress through this full focus system. They have been more efficient, build more hours by working less time because they are more efficient with the time they're using, more profitability, obviously better work-life balance. And so she's proven, and that's why it's so exciting to talk to her. She's proven the fact that you can work less and still accomplish the same amount of work. And boom, 45 hours max during tax season for their people.
Yep. Now combine that with get rid of your DNF clients and price appropriately and watch how your practice can literally transform what you already have from this mess into a nice, neat, well-oiled machine.
Yep, for sure.
Oh, it is amazing. So some advice for people right now, because, they're going to listen to this. It's February already.
Yeah, I know.
This would have been, Randy, this would have been great to know in November.
My fault. I didn't call you until last week.
I didn't think of it either. I was too busy writing the book, yelling at people to get rid of their DNF clients. But any advice for people that are now sitting at their desk? They're not going to start automating now.
No,
they're not going to. I mean, maybe they could start firing the worst of the worst clients now, but they're kind of in the middle of it.
Yep. I mean, so here's the thing. Yes, we're in the middle of it, but there's simple things you can do. I mean, one simple thing is just a 5-minute meditation session is going to clear your mind. You can do that. And you can start with not 5 minutes. I mean, I interviewed a guy recently who said he shoots for 21 minutes of meditation. He says he is so much more productive by being able to clear his mind with that. But just during the day, close down for a second. Take one deep breath. It's amazing. Just don't clear your mind. Take one deep breath. And all of a sudden, you're just going to feel, it's weird. I did it the other day. And I'm trying to do this every day now. You're going to feel refreshed, by concentrating, not just, all right, I did my breath, I'm done. No, concentrate, but simple steps. You can't implement everything. You're not going to do it during the middle of tax season. Simple steps. Maybe block out more time than you used to with zero. You don't turn your phone off. Don't get email notifications. Just give yourself an hour of full concentration, and then see if you can expand that to 2 or 3. And like you do, Eric, then the afternoon is when you get back. So don't think big picture now, because we don't need to close your mind with more.
Sure.
Think baby steps. And if you do a baby step today, add a second step tomorrow, and then just see where it goes. But definitely you can do it, and you can be more efficient, more profitable in less time.
Yeah, no, and I actually think Dawn and I we're setting up an advisory conference in the spring. I think Randy, we should get roped into this. We should do a session on this, because now in the spring, but I agree. I think it's more triage right now.
Yep.
So first thing I would do is look at your calendar. If you have like a Saturday and Sunday that's not full, block that out now and leave it empty. Take the time. You will be better for it when you get back at your desk. One thing you can do today, if you're going to go for coffee in the afternoon, we have coffee in the office, but I can go for a nice 15-minute round trip walk. We have a beautiful place, Willoughby's. Yeah, I'll spend a few bucks. It's cold, fresh air. I walk over there. I get coffee. I walk back. I'm not on the phone. I'm not texting people. It's fresh air. It's steps for those of you trying to get your 10,000 steps. It's just good for you physically, mentally.
Yep.
Get out. And if you can't do that, go out and walk around the building and come back. 5 minutes.
Right. Nope. That. And then you just said exercise and eating right are important too. I mean, and that's eating right. I know it may sound tough in tax season. Make a baby step there right now. Just do a baby step and do it.
I know. I'm one of those people that I'm going to have a kale salad, some grilled chicken, and by the time you get to the afternoon, screw it, get me a steak and cheese sub and fries, because and honestly, I don't do that very. If I did, I'd be even bigger.
Yeah.
But I've had those moments where I'm like, I'm about to lose my mind. I'm going to go get pizza, and we're in New Haven. Pepe's and Sally's and Modern are all walking distance from my office. So, which if you're not following, they're the three most fit. They're on Food Network all the time.
Right.
There's actually a TV show, a documentary called Pizza: A Love Story about New Haven thin crust pizza.
Really? All right.
Pepe's, Sally's, and Modern are in the top 10 every year. They're on Food Network. The only two reasons to come to New Haven: Yale and pizza. We happen to have great pizza, and it's walking distance. It's dangerous. I've been known to do that, but
yeah,
it's a rarity. Try to pack your lunch. Try to get out in fresh air. Because it's February, you're probably not completely blocked. Quickly today, go through your calendar and block out those times.
Do it
as mental health breaks.
Yep, for sure. Simple steps. Get it done. You'll feel better. And you won't with my tax seasons 16 years ago. It took me 4 months, I think, to recover afterwards, and you don't have that luxury anymore just because of the way business has gone. So
no, I agree. Those days of the summer golfing with the office open part-time, those are gone.
Yep.
No, not that you can't do that.
You can't, right?
You can. I mean, remember something, your practice works for you. If you, for instance, I've told one of my tax rep members we were going through this, I said, you can shut your office down at 6, as the woman in Iowa.
Yeah, Courtney. Yep.
6 p.m. We're done. Office is closed. You know why? We're a business. We're all going to go home.
Yeah.
I don't if it's February. You can do that. Now, how many clients you can take? Do you need more help? Are they good clients? That's a business. You got to sit down with some pencil and paper, Excel, and showing my age. And I still like pencil and paper. In fact, I got pads and I got pens. I got multiple pads.
Fairly neat desk there, though. I'm impressed.
Well, remember, I've got 25 people. So
Right.
I don't tend to let things hang around in here. They're assigned to somebody else.
Right.
But yeah, I think you got get your arms around your practice. You're not going to do it today. It's a great project first week of May.
Yep. Yep. I
No,
agree.
Randy, listen, thank you. This has been terrific. Timing, like I said, couldn't be better. And it's a subject that maybe we do a follow-up after tax season. That okay, now that we've survived, how do we change our practice permanently going forward, and start on that path to having a business instead of a job?
Yep. Well, you mentioned Scaling New Heights. I'm doing a 2-hour presentation on mental health in our profession at Scaling New Heights. So I'm looking forward to that. It'll be post-tax season, but it'll be a good setup for setting the stage.
I'm doing 5 sessions.
I heard. I'm jealous.
Oh. Well, you know what? I complain now, but truthfully, if I'm going to go to a conference,
Yeah.
I want to speak. To hang around and it's just all I end up doing is haranguing the people here at my office. Is this done? Is this done? They're always like, "Can't you go talk about something?"
Exactly.
Let the guy who likes to blab go blab.
Yeah.
All right, let us do the work. But no, listen, I'll see you there. We'll be there.
That'll be great. I'll be in some. I don't know if I'll be in all 5, but I'll hit a session or 2 of yours for sure.
Yeah, no, and I'm going to actually have Joe and Heather both on the podcast. Joe Woodard and Heather Satterley will be
Okay. Nice.
will be joining me here. Yeah, but all right. Now, listen, thank you for joining us, and all of you, thank you for listening in. Some great advice here. Definitely implement it. If you're going to Scaling New Heights, sit in on that 2-hour session. It'll be good for you. And also come by and say hi. But listen, everyone, thank you for joining us. Have a great rest of your week. Don't overdo it. And we'll talk next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.